Testing 1, 2. The ninjas run through the sacred swamp. Hello, boys and girls. I'm back with another one, and this one is Elon Musk, the star child of the new age AI movement. Probably one of the first trials of Neuralink. That boy's straight robotic. We all know it. But I'm here to pose to you, is Elon Musk a neo Nazi Playboy Antichrist? Thanks for asking. We're about to find out. So, Elon Musk. So, I don't know if any of you knew this, but Elon, he is South African, but his family also has heavy Canadian ties. And during his education, he actually went to Queen's University at Kingston, commonly known as Queen's University or simply Queen's, which is a public research university in Kingston, Ontario, Canada. And it's interesting to note that the Church of Scotland funded the college itself. So it's interesting to know that the ties behind Elon's education are from the Catholic Church. And so that ties back to Jesuit, ties back to the grand scheme about getting their boys into the political arena so that they can do as they want, get everybody distracted by the flashing lights of new age movements, AI, going to Mars, the future, space. We're all blinded by the Star Trek that we've been watching, and this guy comes along and makes it seem like a possibility. And now that President Trump has put him into some obscure place of power, you have to think about it and question, because this guy has zero political knowledge or awareness. He's a total, like, public image hire. Trump knows that this guy is hot, and so he wants him on his team. That's what I'm thinking. But strangely enough, this isn't the first attempt that Elon's made to get into the political arena, which I'll get into later. But, and interestingly enough, through the ages, this college has been known to be historically completely white. Not that that really matters, but there have been comments on by some in the recent years they started enrolling more diverse members, so they were hiring people of color, and they would say how they would just like stick out like sore thumbs and reiterate how the curriculum is exceedingly European and white. It is established by the Church of Scotland, so obviously they're not going to change their whole curriculum for new hires, but it makes you think, like, this isn't a huge student base. It seems like it's kind of like a very intentional university, and people send their kids there for specific things, and it seems to be people of wealth that send their kids to this university for who knows what. Going into Elon's family history, which is very important in this whole story, his mother, May Haldeman, or May Musk, born April 19th, 1948, is a Canadian model and dietitian. She is indeed a fox, and she has been a model for 50 years. So Elon's dad, Errol Musk, wifed that up real quick. Elon has two siblings, Kimball Musk and Tosca Musk, who we'll get into, who also hold some sort of key position in a different field that Elon doesn't. May holds a Canadian, South African, and American citizenship. She is registered a dietitian and earned two master's degrees in diet and nutrition. Going into her early life, she was born in Canada, so Elon is Canadian. Who would have thought? With all this Trudeau nonsense, now we got Elon, who's a crypto Canadian? That's crazy. But what gets a little wonky here is that May's father, Joshua Norman Haldeman, is a former director of Technocracy Incorporated. And let's go into Technocracy Incorporated, which created what we call the technocracy movement. This was a social movement active in the United States and Canada in the 1930s, which favored technocracy as a system of government over representative democracy and commitment partisan politics. Technocracy was ultimately overshadowed by other proposals for dealing with crisis of the Great Depression. The technocracy movement proposed replacing partisan politicians and business people with scientists and engineers who had the technical expertise to manage the economy. This movement did not fully aspire to scientocracy. This movement was banned in Canada ultimately in 1940. The ban was lifted in 1943 when it was apparent that Technocracy Incorporated was committed to the war effort, proposing a program of total conscription. The movement continued to expand during the remainder of the war, and new sections were formed in Ontario and the Maritime Provinces. So, if you ask me, this starts before Elon, and he's the star child to put forward this new technocracy movement in the 21st century. They failed. The world wars happened. Nobody wanted to go to computers or turn to scientists or people who were deemed qualified by whoever to manage what we've fought hard over and what we've lost a lot of lives over, you know? So they had poor timing on their end. So maybe they thought during the Second World War and during the Great Depression, they believed that that was a good time for people to be vulnerable enough to accept such a thing. But now we shimmy into modern days and we see that it's a lot closer and a lot scarier than we thought. Moving on to Daddy Errol, who seems like a very bad man. Just gonna throw that out there. Daddy Errol. I'm somewhat convinced that the movie Blood Diamond was derived from this guy's life, but he owned an emerald mine in Pretoria, South Africa, and gained his riches through emerald trading and being a mechanical engineering consultant and invested in various ventures. So the boy was a venture capitalist and took advantage of the South African scene. You could tell they already had a lot of money, and notably, he became a member of the Progressive Federal Party in South Africa, which was mostly shared between, which only included whites in the beginning, liberal whites, and then opened the doors to all races. So it seems like Errol played a big hand in controlling a part of South Africa for whatever price he was paid for selling out. Born in 1946, he had three children with Haldeman, which include, as stated before, Elon Musk, Kimball Musk, and Tosca Musk. Haldeman divorced him, saying he was abusive. Errol Musk had two other marriages and four other children. He faced criticism from his son Elon, who called him a terrible human being. So that didn't just come from Elon has daddy issues. Errol's early life, his mother, Cora Amelia Musk, was British and his father, Walter, was South African. Errol attended Clapham High School, where he dated May Haldeman. They met in high school, folks. And the pair married in 1970. The family lived in Pretoria, where May worked as a dietitian and model. Their Elon Reeve Musk was born on June 28, 1971, spat straight out of a computer hard drive. It was an immaculate conception. They don't know how it happened. Named after May's grandfather, J. Elon Haldeman, with the name Reeve after her maternal grandmother's maiden name. In January 2025, Elon Musk stated that governance in South Africa has deteriorated. In February 2025, which is recent, Errol arranged a phone call between his son Elon and South African President Cyril Ramaphosa, on which the two discussed the impact of Donald policies on South Africa. So, Daddy Errol has his little boy Elon in the office influencing the American president, and he's arranging phone calls with different presidents about how he don't like what Daddy Trump be doing. What's up with that? Going back a little further, a little flashback, in 1986, Errol acquired rights to the output of three Zambian emerald mines, though he did not own the mines themselves. In interviews with Walter Isaacson, if you registered it, you would wind up with nothing, because the blacks would take everything from you. He later referred to his wealth during Elon's teen years in an interview with Business Insider South Africa, saying he had so much money we couldn't even close our safe, and mentioned his emerald dealings. Snopes confirmed that at some point he owned a stake in an emerald mine near Lake Tanganyika in Zambia. He once described his emerald mine as an under the table. Very interesting. According to the 2015 biography of Elon Musk titled Elon Musk, Tesla, SpaceX, and the Quest for a Fantastic Future, in 1995, Elon Musk gave $28,000 to Elon and Kimball, who's his brother, as they were starting up the software company Zip2.
Elon Musk suffered a total collapse on the Joe Rogan podcast. The topic of the Nazi salute came up. The topic of Social Security came up. The topic of Elon being assassinated came up. And this is about as bad as you could imagine it being. Let's start with Joe Rogan saying, how could it be that you buy Twitter for billions and then people call you a Nazi? And Elon explains he is definitely not a Nazi.
When you're going through all this USAID stuff,
Yeah.
like, here's what's weird. First of all, what is it like to buy a company for $44 billion and then people call you a Nazi on that same thing that you bought?
I did not see it coming.
Isn't that funny?
It's classic.
So funny. Rogan's just in stitches.
People will gobble anything down.
Yeah. Oh, he's never going to stop.
Wait.
What is it like? Like all this, like people used to, the left was in love with you.
Yeah.
And now the same idiots are calling you a Nazi. It's the most bizarre thing I've ever seen in my life.
You know, one of the things they love talking about is people used to think one thing about you, and now they've changed what they think, and that's crazy. But sometimes the opinions of people change based on what the person does. Elon used to be this sort of doofusy, awkward, kind of antisocial tech guy who dramatically accelerated electric vehicles by his actions at Tesla, and so on and so forth. And so we saw him as a kind of benign guy who was doing some good things. Now, all of a sudden, he's wrapped up in political extremism. He's getting involved in all sorts of, he said something about how his son died because of the woke mind virus, all this crazy stuff. And so, yes, it is a different Elon Musk. So people's opinion of him have changed. That's not crazy.
I mean,
There's so many examples
Yeah,
of
yeah.
people saying my heart goes out to you.
Sure,
You did it
sure.
with a little enthusiasm that probably wouldn't be recommended
obviously-
with hindsight.
yes, but,
But-
I was obviously meant in the most positive spirit possible.
Yes,
Yeah,
obviously.
obviously.
But it's so strange where people want to think that you are openly publicly doing secret Nazi Sieg
Right.
Heil hand motions.
It's openly, publicly, secretly. Openly, publicly, secretly.
And now I can never point at things diagonally. I can only point at things there and there. And then so you have to divide that.
Yeah.
Because that's where the spaceship is, over there. And it's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
The guy in the video doing the video, clearly Jewish, but he does have a point in saying Elon's personality's kind of changed from being like this sheltered, nerdy guy to this outgoing, like, I got it in the bag type personality, which isn't necessarily new, but if you look into some of his videos from back in the day, which I'll post, he equally had that arrogance. But as far as the Nazi salute, the Goebbels pun, all of that, he was raised to be a little neo-Nazi boy. Like that was the upbringing, and it is interesting how when we shift through timelines, we are reaching the 100-year anniversary of the Nazi regime. So it's interesting to think, is this a new version of all that in America? I don't know. Interesting to think about. And you can tell Rogan's a little nervous here, and he keeps bringing it up because I think he actually believes it. So he wants to kind of like make Elon squirm around and kind of stumble over himself to admit it. I think Joe's kind of a little worried here. And just an aside here, tell me how Elon is balding more when he's a young man than now when he's got all those hair plugs in there. It just shows you this guy is a made man. But let's shift on over to the Grimes era. Grimes, whose human name is Claire Elise Boucher, French, born March 17th, 1988, is a Canadian musician, singer-songwriter, and record producer. Her lyrics often touch on and feminist themes. The visuals in her videos are elaborate and sometimes have fantasy themes. She has released 5 studio albums. Born and raised in Vancouver, Grimes began releasing music independently after moving to Montreal in 2006. She released 2 albums, Who Cares? Outside of music, Grimes had a voice role in 2020 action role-playing video game Cyberpunk 2077. Okay, who cares? Vancouver. The first child of Sandy Garosino, a former crown prosecutor and arts advocate, and Maurice Boucher, a former banker who works in the business side of biotech. She is of French Canadian, Ukrainian, and Italian descent. Her grandmother was from Ukraine and immigrated to Canada. Guys, if this isn't a poem creating a beautiful bow for y'all, I don't know what is. Grimes and her younger brother Mac were raised Roman Catholic and attended Catholic school in Vancouver. So did Musk, not in Vancouver, but in Canada. She later commented that her religious upbringing had a significant impact on her. It totally influences everything I do. I think I have serious latent Catholic guilt issues. Her parents divorced when she was 11, after which her mother remarried. Through her mother's remarriage, she has 2 stepbrothers, one of whom is a member of the hip-hop duo LNDN Drugs and performs under the name Jay Worthy. In 2006, Grimes graduated from Lord Byng Secondary School and relocated from Vancouver to Montreal to attend McGill's University. McGill's Joint Bachelor of the Arts in Science program. I was studying general arts and science degree, but I was in the electroacoustics program. She said in early interviews, however, she later claimed to have studied neuroscience. She was expelled in December 2010 for skipping classes. So Grimes comes from a culty Ukrainian Russian influenced family. She comes through Camp Musk. They are both technological neuroscience fucking nerds. And who knows if this was arranged? How would they ever, like, Elon is so starving for a honey. Grimes could just say hello, and he'd be like, "Oh, would you like to marry me?" Here's some stuff on her that you might like to see.
Huge guy.
Who is Duffy?
Duffy is my muse, and he also runs the cult that I'm in. I'm a member of. I'm the high priestess, and it's a surrealist cult that is completely centered around bureaucracy. So you can never do anything because you're constantly doing paperwork. But he dances for me a lot. I actually hate fruit, but I am supposed to eat it right now. I basically hate everything besides carbs and fat. Like, I actually dislike vegetables pointedly, but they're important to eat. It's just like vile. It's like broccoli. Like, what the f***? It's like actually disgusting. I don't know how anyone eats it.
There aren't many Grimes songs that are based around acoustic guitar, right?
No, I weirdly like acoustic guitar. I just can't be that basic, like from an ego perspective. Well, sorry. Oh, it's nice and mushy now. Ivy is 4, and which is like, I don't know, sort of like the demon. This is so embarrassing. Leader of the album. Ugh, God, I can't say it out loud. And I mean, okay, I guess like I was like, oh, if I was writing a manga, what would it be like? I never decide until like 10 minutes before I'm getting a tattoo what it's gonna be.
What about this? So what is that one about?
We were in New Zealand playing a show, and this guy was like, I'll give you a free tattoo if I can come to your show. So I was like, sure. I grew up with this dog named Ginger. She was actually a pug, but like we had a really, really intense bond. I'm actually gonna get her name tattooed on me soon, but and she died a really horrific death, but she, you know.
How did she die?
She died of like like an anal infection. It was really like sad. She was like shitting everywhere and like convulsing. I like want to cry when I think about it, but my friend's cat, Voynimir, is on a few of the sons. The cat like wouldn't stop, like just meowing. Like I was just like, God damn it! Like, and you can hear the bus going by too. There was like this like broken part of the road, and every time the bus would go over, it'd be like, so there's just all these buses deep in this album, yeah.
What is your, like, is it weird doing this, like, right now, like, talking to me?
Oh yeah, I'm like shaking and sweating profusely. Although I trust you.
Yeah, sometimes I have a band these days. Although we're in a fight right now, so they're not playing with me.
Why are you fighting?
Oh, it's a long story. I had just always dreamed of making music with a banjo, and it was sort of like this dream that was like cut short tragically. The first instrument before I made Visions, I bought a banjo, and it was like $126. I remember this whole thing. It was like my first instrument, and I was like, oh, I love Dolly Parton. I'm going to make a country record and be like a country artist, which is like so crazy. And then as I was bringing the banjo home, I got on Craigslist. I was bringing it home, and this guy followed me off the bus and followed me into this like stairwell of my apartment building. I was like, wait, is this guy gonna like attack me right now? So I just like turned around and just started screaming and beating him with the banjo, and I destroyed the banjo, but he left. Then I was like,
So,
it's like the craziest.
so you paid $126 for a banjo like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And then you beat a man with it in self-defense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
I remember being really hot, like outrageously sweaty when I was making this, and just being like, God, like overwhelmed by the heat.
How did you guys come together?
I sent her like a painting because I was a fan.
Oh. Was it like a painting of Janelle by you, like really creepy?
No, it was like a decapitated head, like
nice,
spitting out colors. Anyway, I sent her a painting, and then she was just like, yeah, we should work on a track. And then I like had a panic attack. But then we made the track.
Grimes is giving out-of-this-world insight into her family life with Elon Musk. The 35-year-old singer shared in a recent interview with Wired about her and the Tesla mogul's 2 children together, 3-year-old son X Ash A12 and 19-month-old daughter Exadark Sidrael, telling the outlet, X knows a lot about rockets. It's crazy. He knows more about rockets than me. We had to stop giving him toys because if they're not anatomically correct, he gets upset. He's a little engineer for sure, but his obsession with space is bordering on, is this healthy? Grimes also revealed that their son had an emotional reaction when Elon's spacecraft company SpaceX's Starship exploded back in April, adding, when X saw Starship blow up, he had like a 3-day PTSD meltdown. Every hour he was waking up and going, Starship, and I had to rub his back. As for their daughter, whose nickname is Y, the Kill vs. Mame songstress teased that she's also showing her own interest in engineering. Yeah, she's a little engineer too. She likes industrial shipping. She's very strange. Grimes, so seeing my kids makes me pathologically optimistic. It's a life mission. The Oblivion singer also reflected on how, quote, intense her children's lives are going to be with having Elon as their dad, as the SpaceX founder has fathered a total of 10 children from 3 different relationships, adding, being Elon's kid is not the same as being anyone's kid. In my house, at least, I want it to be more of a crazy warehouse situation and a cool art space. Grimes also revealed how she remains on good terms with Elon, who she dated from 2018 to 2021, and shared what their relationship taught her, telling the outlet, I learned from him, like the best internship ever. People don't like talking about Elon, but it was incredible to be right there watching all that SpaceX stuff happen. That's a masterclass in leadership and engineering and makes you understand how rare it is to have a leader of that quality. I know the stuff on Twitter doesn't make it look like that. He didn't build the culture there, and the cultural fit has obviously been very intense. He holds his people to really high standards. Watching him, I understand how difficult it is to be a great general and do something of that magnitude. Elon has an old world kind of discipline I really respect, and I think it rubs a lot of people the wrong way. They don't want to be in that hardcore zone. If you're not consenting to being in that hardcore zone, I get it, but he's challenged me a lot. I learned a lot about running my own team and my own life. I'm now way tougher and smarter than I used to be.
3-day PTSD episodes because their father's Starlink didn't succeed. That's crazy. And commenting that their daughter likes industrial shipping, that little gal don't even know what industrial shipping is. I think they're trying to cultivate their children into new age engineering, robotics, psychotics. You know what I'm saying? And to cap off those clips, were Grimes and Elon married or was it a business relationship? The way she talks about it sounds like she only entered it to become more savvy with the engineering world and whatnot, and they happen to have 2 children together. So what? Trust me, boys, I've been on the Trump train like everybody else. Not everybody, but you know what I'm saying. And something dawned on me. It's like we're relying so hard on savior, someone to save us, and he fits perfectly into that role. It's like we've been downtrodden, beaten, whatnot, fucked with, and this is the perfect guy who's been doing the things that we need, and I hope he is the leader we need. But you got to think about it as 2 sides of a coin in politics, where they really wouldn't let a man like that had control over him in some way or another. He's part of the American machine, baby. His dad, Trumpy's dad, wasn't the most moral of men either. It's like they had to snap necks and do what they did to get at the top. And things they do are things the common folk aren't willing to do because it's very highly immoral, highly exploitive of people. Now let's go into the political arena because I'm willing to steer this 2 ways. It looks like Elon has been trying to get into politics since the Clinton administration. He tried to get into both the Clinton administration and the Obama administration. Neither of them would let him in. But perhaps that's because they are part of the corruption, and if Trump is the man we think he is, it could be that Elon is kind of like the dark horse that we need. I see the control of Twitter is advantageous. Um, but it makes you think about it. Elon's been trying to get into politics for a while. He's finally in here. What are the plans now? Are his family, who have been trying to get their motives into the narrative for a while, is that why he's there? Is that what they put him there for? Has it been a plan in the making for a long time? I don't know. But we can't put that past the realm of possibility because they do put all the smoke screens out for us sheep and we just gobble it up. We're not, it's like if you look a little bit further than what's directly fed to you, you can see a trail of shit. And once you follow that trail of shit, it stanks. You find the sewer, baby. Himself